On July 26, 2023, a former intelligence official sat before the United States Congress and made a statement that would reshape the conversation around unidentified anomalous phenomena. His name was David Grush. His title was former National Reconnaissance Office official and former representative of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency to the Defense Department. And under oath, before the House Oversight Committee, he said something that mainstream media had largely avoided for decades. The United States government possesses non-human biologics and has recovered craft of non-human origin. This was not speculation. This was not conspiracy theory whispered in dark corners of the internet. This was testimony given under penalty of perjury before elected representatives of the United States Congress. The question that followed was simple but profound. If this was true, what else had been hidden? David Grush did not arrive at this moment unprepared or unknown. His career spanned 2 decades within the intelligence community. He had served as the intelligence officer for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, one of the most secretive agencies within the American intelligence apparatus. He had worked on special access programs, the classified initiatives so sensitive that even members of Congress are often denied access to their details. In 2021, Grush filed a whistleblower complaint with the Inspector General of the intelligence community. The complaint was not casual, it was detailed, it was specific. It alleged that the United States government had recovered non-human biologics and non-human technology, and that this information was being concealed from Congress and the American public. The complaint was filed through official channels. It followed the law. It was the action of someone operating within the system, not outside it. What made Grush's testimony particularly significant was the corroboration that followed. In the same hearing, 2 Navy pilots, Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Ryan Graves, provided their own accounts of encounters with unidentified aerial phenomena. Fravor described an incident in 2004 off the coast of San Diego, where he and his fellow pilots encountered an object that moved in ways that defied conventional physics. The object had no visible propulsion system. It had no wings. It accelerated from a standstill to supersonic speeds in seconds. Graves described a pattern of encounters over the East Coast, where pilots repeatedly encountered objects that appeared on radar but could not be visually identified. These were not amateur observations. These were trained military personnel with decades of experience, describing phenomena they could not explain within the framework of known technology. The historical context of this moment cannot be understated. For 75 years, the United States government had maintained an official position that unidentified flying objects were either misidentifications of conventional aircraft, weather balloons, or natural phenomena. This position was established in 1947, following the incident near Roswell, New Mexico, where a rancher discovered debris on his property. The military initially issued a press release stating that a flying disc had been recovered. Within hours, the statement was retracted. The official explanation became a weather balloon. The incident was closed, the file was sealed, and for generations, anyone who suggested otherwise was dismissed as a conspiracy theorist or a crank. But the Roswell incident was not isolated. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, the United States military documented thousands of sightings of unidentified aerial phenomena. The Air Force conducted a formal investigation called Project Blue Book, which examined over 12,000 reports. The official conclusion was that 96% of sightings could be explained as misidentifications or natural phenomena. The remaining 4% remained unexplained, but the investigation was conducted under the assumption that the phenomena were either foreign technology or natural occurrences. The possibility of non-human origin was never seriously entertained in the official record, even as classified briefings suggested otherwise. In 2004, the situation changed in a way that could not be easily dismissed. The USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, one of the most advanced naval formations in the world, encountered an object off the coast of San Diego. The encounter was documented on radar. It was witnessed by multiple pilots. It was recorded on infrared video. The object, which came to be known as the Tic Tac due to its shape, performed maneuvers that were impossible for any known aircraft. It moved without apparent acceleration. It changed direction at angles that would have subjected any human pilot to forces that would cause loss of consciousness. It descended from an altitude of 80,000 feet to sea level in seconds. The incident was reported through official channels. It was investigated, and then it was classified. The video remained classified for 15 years until it was leaked to the New York Times in 2015. The leak of the Tic Tac video marked a turning point. For the first time, mainstream media outlets began to seriously cover the topic of unidentified aerial phenomena. The New York Times published a detailed investigation. The Washington Post followed. Major news networks began to interview pilots and military officials. The conversation shifted from the fringe to the mainstream, but even as the conversation expanded, the government maintained official silence. No official statement was issued. No investigation was launched. No answers were provided. The phenomena remained officially unidentified and unofficially ignored. Then came 2023 and the congressional hearing. Grush's testimony was the first time a credentialed government official had publicly stated under oath that the United States government possessed non-human biologics and non-human technology. The implications were staggering. If true, it meant that the government had recovered materials and possibly beings from sources other than Earth. It meant that this information had been compartmentalized within special access programs, hidden from elected officials and the public. It meant that the official narrative of the past 75 years had been false. Grush did not provide specific details about where these materials were stored or what exactly had been recovered. He cited classification restrictions, but he was clear about the fact of recovery and the fact of concealment. The response from the government was measured and careful. The Department of Defense issued a statement saying that it had no credible evidence of extraterrestrial life. The statement did not address Grush's specific allegations. It did not explain how materials of non-human origin could be recovered without evidence of non-human life. It simply reasserted the official position. Congressional members who attended the hearing expressed concern about the lack of transparency. Some called for further investigation. Others suggested that if the allegations were true, it represented a constitutional crisis, as the executive branch would be concealing information from the legislative branch. But no formal investigation was launched. No subpoenas were issued. No documents were declassified. What Grush's testimony did accomplish was to legitimize the conversation. For the first time, major news outlets could report on the possibility of non-human technology without being dismissed as tabloid journalism. Scientists could discuss the topic without fear of professional ridicule. The question was no longer whether unidentified aerial phenomena existed. The question was what they were and why the government was concealing information about them. Grush himself provided some insight into the mechanism of concealment. He described a system of compartmentalization so extreme that even senior officials within the government were unaware of the full scope of the programs. He described a culture of secrecy so pervasive that whistleblowers faced retaliation. He described a situation where the truth had become classified and the classification itself had become a tool of control. The implications of Grush's testimony extend far beyond the question of whether non-human technology has been recovered. If true, it raises fundamental questions about the nature of government accountability. If the executive branch can conceal information of this magnitude from Congress and the public, what other information might be hidden? What other truths might be classified? What does it mean for democracy when the government operates with a level of secrecy that prevents elected representatives from performing their constitutional duties? These are not questions about aliens. These are questions about the structure of government and the relationship between those in power and those they govern. The testimony also raises questions about the nature of the phenomena themselves. If the objects encountered by military pilots are not of human origin, where do they come from? How long have they been present? What is their purpose? Are they a threat? These questions remain unanswered. The government has not provided clarity. The scientific community has largely remained silent, waiting for official acknowledgement before committing resources to serious investigation. The public is left in a state of uncertainty, aware that something significant may have occurred, but unable to access the information necessary to understand what that something is. In the months following Grush's testimony, additional information emerged. Other former government officials came forward with their own accounts. A former intelligence officer named Luis Elizondo, who had directed the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, gave interviews describing his frustration with the lack of transparency within the government. He described a situation where evidence of non-human technology was being actively suppressed. He described colleagues who had been threatened with prosecution if they spoke publicly about what they knew. He described a system designed not to investigate the truth, but to conceal it. These accounts were not made by anonymous sources. They were made by named individuals with verifiable credentials and documented careers within the intelligence community. The question that remains unanswered is why? Why would the government conceal this information? What purpose does the concealment serve? Some have suggested that the technology recovered from these objects is so advanced that revealing its existence would destabilize the geopolitical balance of power. Others have suggested that the government itself does not fully understand what has been recovered and is concealing its own ignorance. Still others have suggested that the concealment is designed to prevent public panic or to maintain control over information that could fundamentally alter humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. The truth, whatever it is, remains classified. What is certain is that something has changed. The conversation that was once relegated to the margins of society has moved to the center. Congressional committees are now investigating. The Department of Defense has established an official office to investigate unidentified anomalous phenomena. Scientists are beginning to take the topic seriously. The question is no longer whether the government should investigate these phenomena. The question is whether the government will be transparent about what it finds. And that question remains, for now, unanswered.